So thank you for downloading and listening to episode 11 of Gamify 24/7. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want to give us a brilliant rave review, then please do. If you want to give us a bad review, you can do that too, but we'd prefer it was a good one. It's episode 11! Woo! This week, people? Are we all well? We all seem in jovial mood?
Yes, I've healed from last week, so, well, mostly healed, so I feel better now.
The bug's being passed around the podcast.
Yeah, I came
I'm
and
just sitting
introduced
here
it.
at the end like...
Anton, you're due this monster of a cold.
The good news is, if you do catch it, you can lie in bed and play some video games.
I didn't. I actually went to work the whole time. Sorry, everyone.
That's the thing. I would like to almost be ill enough to do that. Like, I wouldn't like to be ill, but it would be great when you're kind of that in between ill. It's no good because you can't do that. You've still got to kind of do stuff. So, you know, no, I'd probably still rather not be ill, to be perfectly honest.
True.
But you know, it does give you an excuse to play lots of good new games. And talking of new games, a release that's on the way. I am 100% going to get this on the PlayStation 4. I only really discovered the previous games this year, and I've been playing the previous incarnation on the Vita, and I know that Kat's a mega fan. It's Persona 5.
Yay!
Hey, is that a real game?
Oh, shots fired.
100%. Come on now, come on.
Oh,
Right,
God.
come on, Kat. Tell us what is so good about the Persona series, and why should we all be rushing out and buying Persona 5?
Well, guys, the first one that I played was Persona 4 Golden, which is, I think, slightly later on than Persona 4. Like, it's a kind of re-release, but with...
That's the one I've been playing.
Yeah, it's like on the Vita, it's got the kind of golden ending. It's kind of like the truer than true ending. You know how you've got like different endings? There's always like the true ending. This is like the golden, there's a golden ending, which I didn't get because I didn't know that at the time, and I had put like 100 hours into it, and I was like, no, I am not doing this again. Not because it wasn't fun, just because I was like, no, I spent a lot of time. I got far too invested in it, and I'm big enough to admit I cried when it was. It wasn't even that sad at the end. I just cried because it was done, and I didn't want it to be done. It's one of those ones you can't go back and play anymore. It's like the end is the end. That's it. Especially because like the first time I got through it, I didn't get. I didn't get an amazing ending.
Brexit, is it? Brexit. The end is the end.
Too soon.
That's too soon and too sore for us all. But yeah, I didn't get the best ending the first time, and I was like, what? Is that it? And I had to kind of ashamedly Google that I was supposed to make other choices and get a better ending. So I did, and then I cried again because it was done. But yeah, it's really, really good because like I don't play that many JRPGs.
Explain what JRPG is.
A Japanese role-playing game. I don't play that many of them. Not because I don't like them or anything. I never really got into them as a kid. Like I never played Final Fantasy or anything like that. Yeah. So I just had no idea really, and I didn't really care that much for turn-based combat and things like that. But when I got my Vita, I kind of was like, I'm sure there's a lot of good games for this console. It seems really cool. What are some of the best ones? Had a little Google, Persona 4 Golden came up, and I was like, okay, I'll get that. Thinking, if everyone else thinks it's really good, then I'm sure I'll get into it. And as soon as I started it, I was well and truly into it. You basically have to balance your life. It's like got all the best things about games in it, like games like The Sims where you are doing kind of a life sim kind of thing. It's like life sim, but also fighting, but also just making friends, and like you get like so involved in it. It's great, and you don't. It's not like open world or anything like that, but it's not exactly linear. Like you do have to follow the days. Certainly, like every day there will be set amounts of time. You have to choose how you're spending your time. Basically, so it's kind of like I was doing better in my Persona life than I was in my real life because I was just like, this proves that I could, if I actually thought about it, manage my time quite well, but I prefer to just do it in this game because everything's better. And in Persona 4, there's a really, really good story. It's kind of always, the games, 'cause I've played 3 as well, they're always to do with a character, your player character, and then they make friends with other characters who are similarly able to access their personas. in kind of a shadow world, or in 3 it was called like I can't remember, it was like at midnight, between like midnight, it would be for an hour that these shadows would kind of come out.
Twilight Realm.
No, it was called something else, but I can't remember what.
Yeah, I didn't play 3. I've just played Persona 4 Golden.
In 4 you go through a TV and you're in the shadow world, like kind of an alternate world where like shadows are about, and you kind of learn that your persona can fight these shadows, and like everyone's persona is kind of achieved by facing that shadow version of themselves, that kind of like the part of you that doesn't believe in you and is kind of all the worst things that you think about yourself and that you think that other people think about yourself.
It sounds like quite a touching game there. It's probably got quite deep.
It does. Like you kind of go through all the friends that you make, you're helping them in this world to kind of face their own demons, and then they get power from that. And you've got the ability to change personas. Like you've got your one that you had, this original one, but you get to change it. And the great thing about that is like you collect personas, and you can then like mix them to upgrade them and everything. So, and you learn like all the different kinds of powers, so you know kind of what enemies you should be using, which persona for that. Like, because if they've got electricity, who's vulnerable? Like what ones will be vulnerable to that? And it's all like it's not revealed to you. You just learn it. So it really is one of those ones you have to commit to playing a lot to kind of learn how to really get good at combat.
So is each of the personas, Persona 3 and I presume 2 and 1 or whatever, are they all linked together or are they separate stories?
They're all separate stories. I've not played the first 2. I think were like Shin Megami Tensei Persona, rather than just like, I think the third one was just called Persona 3 and then this one was just Persona 4. So, but yeah. There's been a lot of spin-offs of Persona 4 as well because it was so popular.
God, yeah, like they ported that to everything.
Oh, and you know, I loved it. I loved it as well. I had Arena, and then there was another Arena one because there was 2. There was one story, but the first Arena game didn't get through the whole story, so you had to keep going in like second one. And I also have the dancing game, the dancing all night rhythm game for the Vita, which I platinumed because I loved it.
And did they do like 2 fighting games as well?
That's what it was. The Arena.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it was really good.
I loved, like you, I had never really played any JRPGs particularly, and never been something that I was that bothered about. I didn't play Final Fantasy particularly, but was always slightly kind of curious as to whether I'd like it, like, you know, going into that genre or not. So when I picked this up, I picked it up mainly because, like you, I looked at reviews. I've got a Vita. I looked at it and thought, you know what, this game's getting great reviews. I watched a couple of video reviews, and it was on sale. They had a crazy mega sale in, I think it was maybe January, and it was down to something like £3.50 or something on the Vita. And at that price, it was like, okay, well, you know, you can't really go wrong. Give it a go. And I loved it. I really enjoyed the story. I loved the interaction. It took me a little bit of getting used to in terms of time management. I found that is probably the hardest thing. There was a couple of times where I spent too long doing something and then realized quickly that was a mistake.
You've got to like the kind of nature of that game is like you've got all your life to do, but also because of your persona responsibilities, like you've got the ability to go into this TV and rescue people from the real world who've been kidnapped and thrown into the TV world and they can't get out by themselves. So if somebody's gone missing, you kind of learn quickly that they're going to show up dead 3 days. If it rains 3 days in a row, they're going to show up dead somewhere in town.
That sounds just like the studio.
But yeah, so you're having to like watch the weather as well to see how long you've got to go and rescue this person, and it's like a dungeon, so there will be so many levels in this dungeon that you've got to get through fighting all these shadows. It takes so long.
Well, the first time I made the mistake of thinking, okay, right, I've got till whatever date it was, April the 29th or whatever it was, and I decided that, okay, that's cool. That's what I'm going to do that day. I'm going to go rescue
as well,
you know?
the first time.
So I waited and waited. I'm doing all this other stuff, and my personal life was going great. I mean, I was doing so much. The problem was
after school job, friends, sports clubs,
love life, the whole lot, like everything was happening. But what I hadn't realised was that by going on the date, I had completely missed the point that was never going to be enough.
No,
it was unlikely.
I didn't know that either. I thought you could just go in on the day and be like, I've rescued you, well done me. But you just can't, like resources wise, you do not have enough resources to get through like 12 levels of a dungeon in one go. So it really is totally, once you've learned that, though, I think you plan things
I'm glad that
better.
you've said that as well, because it makes me feel better about
No,
myself.
I had to go back so far. I had to go back to like the start of that week just to do it again, and then be like, oh,
Same,
okay, right, it's
same.
clearly
Took
not
me a little
possible.
bit getting used to. I've seen. Sorry, guys. I've seen a review of the or a preview of the new one. I've seen some screenshots. I've seen some people have had early access to Persona 5, and I'm not getting carried away. But it certainly seems to be fairly unanimous that this is all the best bits of the previous Personas, and they've managed to do it in a way that is even more compelling. The storyline is even better. It's bigger. It's got more to do. There's even, there's in terms of the options in Persona 4 Golden anyway, there was loads, but it takes it to a new level.
Yeah.
And it's got on the PlayStation 4, which is really exciting.
I know, like, I had mixed feelings about that when I found out, when it was announced that it wasn't going to be out on the Vita, because the way that I played Persona 4 was that I would take it to work and I would do, like, boss battles at lunch and things, and I really liked being able to just have it with me, because I felt like I played it more, because I could just play it whenever. Yeah, because you do get really addicted to it. But whereas with the PS4, I will actually have to be at home, and then when I'm at home, obviously, if you are a grown-up lady like me, you've got to do your job and then go home and like make dinner and clean and do all the other grown-up crap things you have to do.
We're talking about the game right now. We're talking about
this is real life. Then you're like, oh well, I also want to spend like 6 hours playing this game. There's just not enough time. So if I got to like carry it about during commutes and things, it would make it a bit easier. But I'm excited.
See, the thing I'm finding interesting is both of you have the same story that I have with Persona, in which it didn't seem like the game you would have bought. You just bought it on a whim. In the case with myself, it's like I bought the PSP Go and then all the games were extortionate, and I needed to be like, I've blown through 5 linear games. I need something that will actually last me. And I was like, this is an option. Gave it a go. Didn't think I would be that into it, and then I was like, oh, this is super engrossing.
Well, that's interesting though. As you have all said now, I've never played it myself, so I can't attain to that sort of level of expression of it. But going along with the fact that when there's a console where there's not much to play in it, it's funny how you get drawn into these games you'd never probably touch, and then they turn out to be amazing. How many games have we all sort of brushed over? We thought, I'd never touch that, I'd never play that kind of game, and they're probably amazing. No, I'm sitting here thinking, God, I want to play that.
Yeah, it's so good.
The thing for me, it was just like how you build relationships with all these characters. That was the thing that really hooked me into it. We'll just gloss over the fact I lost all my save data and rage quit and never went back to it.
Yeah, you kind of do. Yeah, if you misjudge your time, you can lose. Yeah, I rage quit after the first time that I realised I'd ruined it, and then I went back to it after. You just have to cool down a little bit and then be like, because sometimes after you've done like the full dungeon, you're just like, I need to stop for a while because that's very intense, because it's quite strategic in its own way. So it's got like the best of everything. Like, I don't know how you could beat 4, to be honest. Like, I can't even imagine.
See, if for anybody out there like listening is like a big Persona fan and are looking for something else, I recommend, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this game, it's called Catherine.
I've heard of it, yeah.
And it's very similar in the idea of you've got your real life where you have to manage friendships and life and all that kind of stuff, but then you've got this like dream world where you need to fight for these puzzles and deal with your psyche and all that kind of stuff. So it's like the 2 layers of gameplay at play.
I think it was a PlayStation Plus game at some point on the PlayStation 3, and I picked it up when it came out there. And I played it. I didn't play it for long, but I liked it. I really liked it. I just, at the time, there was lots of other games to play, but it'd certainly be something I would go back to for sure. And Catherine's got a similar kind of vibe to it, yeah.
But what's funny is as well, talking about that, other games that are possibly in a similar vein. This is maybe not a fighting game. It's more just the deep personal level for a lot of people to relate to. It, is Mother 3. My brother's been telling me to play this for ages now, and he said it's such a touching game when you play it. It's really, like, you can relate to it really well, especially if you name the characters, like the mum and dad is your mum and dad, and the brother is your brother and sister. And he said it was amazing, so that's one of these games that I keep saying that I'll play that as well. But these games, they all take about 100 hours, they all take 150 hours.
Yes, they really
It's so much time to invest, and you're like, I don't know if I've got time to play that. But
once you get into them, though, because that's the thing, like, the Witcher is a really long game, but once you start, you're just like, that's, like, I remember I cancelled plans during The Witcher. Like, I cancelled plans. I was like, I think I'm just gonna stay in this weekend. Literally did not leave the house and just played The Witcher. Like from every waking hour, I was playing The Witcher, and I was eating and playing The Witcher, and that was just like that's
You're in the bath again.
The worst one.
Playing The Witcher in the bath.
The worst one is when you've got a game like that, and then you're like sitting there at like 9 o'clock at night. It's like, oh yeah, I haven't had breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Exactly, but I love that though. I love how games can do that.
What's funny is we're talking about Persona 5 obviously, and going along with the time management thing. That game is probably trying to teach you how to manage your time, but it made you really bad at it.
I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. I was doing better. Like my life in Persona was better than my real life because I was managing it so much better.
I instantly had Persona life envy within about 10 minutes of playing. This is much cooler
See
than
when
real
it's
life.
done though, you're like,
but isn't that games
I'm Catriona again.
But isn't that video games getting to a T? We're playing games to escape from real life, and it's like
you've got a point, Shaun. To be fair,
but I think we all learn things from this. Like we're not gonna get sucked into that.
I want a master sword and a Hylian shield.
But it's like I think that it does help you learn more about yourself and other cheesy things like that. Playing games, I think that's like reading books and stuff. You go to other worlds and stuff that you like. You feel like you've done all these experiences you haven't actually done, and I think that is enriching for your character. There we go.
Well, deep.
It is.
Speaking of time management, we now must move on to the second section of the show.
Oh, I know. I pre-ordered Persona 5, so I'll talk about it.
We're gonna. I'm sure that Kat's probably gonna give us an in-depth review when it happens, and if not, I'll do my best.
Talking about reviews, Connor's going to do a review for it for Small Fry as well, so we will have that as well.
So there'll be a legit review. I'm gonna just play it like the fun way, where I don't have to actually try and get through a 100-hour game as soon as I can for a review. So I'm gonna just do the fun playing of the game.
Okay, let's move on then. There's a big event happening in Edinburgh, and it's on now. It's on till the 14th of April. Shaun, tell us a bit more about the history of gaming.
Yeah, it's by, I think the actual group who run it is Future Artists. They've got a Facebook page, so you can go and check that out as well. But down at Ocean Terminal in Edinburgh, if you're in Edinburgh over the next week and a half or whatever, head down to Ocean Terminal, and they've got an event called The History of Gaming, Ready Player One. And we were discussing this earlier. I think obviously the name Ready Player One must be tying into the book. There was a book apparently about it, and Steven Spielberg's adaptation of that book, I presume that's what he's doing, Ready Player One. So the actual event itself is they've got arcade cabinets like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. They've got a whole room of those, and once you pay your ticket, just make this clear when you go in, once you paid your ticket, you then get unlimited access to play the arcade cabinet, so you don't have to pay for them on top of that. That is included in your ticket price. And it's just a good way if you're a retro gamer, if you remember the old arcades back in the day. You, me, Michael, will recall these probably quite a lot.
Yes.
Old arcades, now they're just fully gambling machines, which is ridiculous.
I know.
But this, like back in the day, went to an arcade, that was like one of the best gaming experiences ever. I wish you guys could experience it, because it was awesome.
All I know of it is
genuine.
just like films, like Terminator 2 and things.
Yeah, that's what it was like though. It was awesome.
It was amazing. Like at the time, you know, I was quite. Well, I'm sure Shaun was very young too, but we were both quite young. But it was an experience where you would go along and you'd have your money, and you would know the games that you wanted to play, and if you were lucky, there wouldn't be a queue for them. And it was just a real excitement. I mean, you wouldn't sleep the night before going to the arcades, because anything you had, unless you had a Neo Geo, was going to be like, you know, 10 times better than what you had. So it was a real experience.
Well,
and you're
what's
right.
funny as well is with like the arcades, like Neo Geo games that are on the Switch now, is you can see what it was like. And obviously in an arcade it was different because you were spending real cash. And when you're a kid and you've only got £1 of pocket money, you had to be really good at gaming, because you would go up and play something like Street Fighter or you play Killer Instinct or the Neo Geo games, and you only had 50 pence, and that was a lot of money back in the day. and you chuck in like £1 or 50 pence, and if you got killed, that was it. That's it for a weekend. So you had to be really good, and you'd be like, oh man, I'm amazing here. and the machines were always like coin guzzlers, so I think that's what's good about this Ready Player One event. You can go down there and you can play some of these games. I don't know what the full range of the consoles is, or the arcades is, sorry, but there's loads of them there, and you can play them and you can experience them. You don't have to worry about the money at this one. But it's maybe a good thing if you've never done that, or if you remember that from your past, to go down and check it out. Maybe rekindle some of those rose-tinted glasses.
It makes me feel bad though, and I did it at the museum like a few years ago, as I said earlier. and I played things like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, and that was like my first time trying to actually play them on like a big arcade machine, and it was awful. I'm so bad at them, and I was just like, what the hell? How easy are games now? Because this is just terrible. Like, I got so angry at them all. Like, if I'd been spending money on that, I would have smashed it up, because I just would have been like, no, I didn't get very far.
No, one of the best arcades, so just talking about arcades since we're talking about this event, I don't know if they've got this here. If they did, I'm going to go and check it out because it'd be awesome, was the Virtua Racing arcade. That was amazing. It was so amazing. An F1 car, the shape of it, and you'd sit in and they had inflatable airbags around the sides and the back and everything, and your bum and stuff. And when you're driving, you'd accelerate, it pushes, so you'd go, and you'd
I wish everyone could see what he just did there.
To the side. It was really forceful. You'd actually come off the seat and you'd be in pain because it'd be pushing you, banging you. And you're like, this is amazing, 50 pence. But yeah, the arcades were amazing back in the day. So I really hope that's what the event's got. I'm hoping to speak to the guy tonight. When you hear this, it'll be a couple of days later, so we'll probably let you know next week. We might be getting some tickets to go up for a competition, but we'll let you guys know about it. But yeah, I'll give you a chance to go down and check that out.
As well as that, if you're going to an event like this, I highly recommend going out and seeking out the games that have vector graphics, because that's an experience you can't have even with a high-def screen. Because you're not having to have, precisely, and it's like Star Wars as well. Having like crisp, pixel-less graphics is just so beautiful, and it really just like punches you in the face with how crisp it looks. It's fantastic.
Awesome. All right, now we've got an update with Zelda, and Alistair, who's one of our listeners, had a question, and the question related to where the update ended up, because it's a cartridge game. For those that aren't buying the download, what happens with the update, because they fixed some frame rate issues, I believe?
Yeah, well, they've done some tests on it, and it looks like there's some parts are fixed. I think when you're in handheld mode, it's fixed a lot of the issues, because that always downscales it anyway to the 720p screen, so you get a better experience on that anyway. When it goes to the actual docked version, some people will have more frame rate issues there, but it looks like it's fixed some of them, not all of them. It just puts it a bit more consistent with the locked 30 frames. So it might, like, maybe there'll be some fixes for that later on. But regarding the download for that, the actual patch itself, I think it's the same as any console. It doesn't do anything to the disc or the cartridge. It installs it onto the machine. And that's the same with any console right now. You got an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4, it'll download it to the hard drive, and that's where your patch is stored. So it's just the exact same as that. It'll store it to the internal memory of the Switch. And I assume if you've got a memory card in your Switch, if that's where your storage, your download's going to, it'll store it to that.
Cool. Well, that's that answered then.
I think so,
yeah. Dwell on it, yeah. Okay, so let's look at some of the upcoming releases then, because there's a few things coming out. By the way, Metacritic currently sitting on 94 for Persona 5.
Ooh, so excited.
Apparently, they were saying it was probably one of the greatest JRPGs of all time.
It's sold out like everywhere already, and it's not even out. Like, you can't get it on Amazon. Like, you can't get it on, like, I was trying to get it on Argos, couldn't get it. I was trying just other sites, just random other websites.
There was a site did a special edition, and they had a special price for it, and I stupidly hesitated, and by the time I hesitated, it had all gone. So
yeah, even just the regular, I know like the Steelbook is kind of the standard edition that's coming out for PS4. That's sold out pretty much everywhere. I actually went into Game Today. I had to just do it. I knew it was more expensive than I was wanting to pay for it, but I really, really wanted it tomorrow. So I went in there today and I pre-ordered it on my lunch, and then was told that that was the last pre-order they were taking in the shop for it, because they were not taking anymore. And I was like, poof, I'm so glad I did that.
Anyway, can we just appreciate...
Anton.
Just appreciate right now, it's like, usually, like every year previously, we look at March, April, it's like, it's just filler games. It's kind of the stuff that didn't get in the holiday season last year. But this year, we've been spoiled. We've had Horizon, we've had Zelda, we've had new Halo, then we've had new Persona.
I feel like it's just constant right now. Like, so many games that I just want to keep coming out, and I'm just like, I have to manage my time just to try and play all these. I know, it's horrible. So I'm like, can I just keep a list of things that I want to get? Well, I'm
going to make you more sick now, because here's some of the releases. PlayStation 4 coming up, and I've got dates here of April the 4th, so I'm assuming we're talking this week. But anyway, so we've got Persona 5, We've got Air Conflict Secret Wars, Lego City Undercover, which is going to be out on the Switch too.
Yeah.
We've got Arma Gallant Decks of Destiny, I don't know much about. And Parappa the Rapper, there's one for your retro section. Lego City Undercover, I have on the Wii U and love it. And I am going to buy the Switch version, maybe not immediately because I've got about 100 hours left of Zelda, but once I get a little bit further on.
I think there was some issues with that, and hopefully it's been clarified by Warner Bros. I assume who does it.
Yeah.
Lego Warner Bros. There was some issues where they had put out before it released. They said that it was on the actual box itself. It says you need to download 13 gigs, and everyone was raging about it.
That's right. Yeah, and that's now been pretty much rubbished, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it's been
apparently
fixed
it's an error.
or fixed.
But you know,
an
it's
error.
like, ooh, is it? I don't know. And apparently, some people who have been playing it as well, they said that the loading times on the Switch, they're not that much improved. I know that's one of the big bugbears of the Wii U version.
Yeah.
The loading times.
Do any of you see yourself picking up this new title? 'Cause I'm kind of struggling to see who would really buy it now, because it's
Lego City Undercover.
Yeah, like I imagine there'll be a few, but I don't think it's going to sell incredibly, because I think it's a bit past its time now.
You know what? It's a really fun open world Lego game. It is fun, and I think that what's cool about what they've done with the Switch is they've made it 2-player, which I think is where the attraction's going to be. For me, I haven't finished the Wii U version, and it's one that I kind of put aside. And I think the fact that they've upgraded, upscaled, you know, as you would expect, graphic-wise, and the fact that you can do it 2-player for me is probably the attraction. Lego games are fun 2-player anyway, but this was one of my favourite ones because it has a kind of Sleeping Dogs type feel, but with Lego, and you know, that's where I see so for me that's the appeal. But yeah, I think you're right. I was very surprised to see this on the release list for the Switch, having seen things like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is coming out. I can understand that to a point. I can understand things like ARMS, and I can, you know, and Zelda obviously, but this was a surprise for me too. Yeah, I've got to admit.
I just think, like, for me, I'd be tempted. I was tempted when it came out in the Wii U, and then with all those issues with the loading times, I went off it. I didn't even bother with it.
The loading times are a pain.
Yeah, and I'd be tempted to get it now, but because it's already been in the Wii U, and I understand it's the same price, or maybe I hope it is the same price anyway, across the other platforms. I just think if they had just sold that for 20 quid, half the price of what it cost originally, you know, I understand they've upscaled graphics or they've tweaked bits, but to me, it's an old game, it's a port. It shouldn't be a full price game, and I feel like I can't justify buying it, even if it's amazing. In my head, there's a psychological barrier there saying this is an old game, and you're trying to skim me for the full money now, when it should be 20 quid.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like, I'm very intrigued in having the multiplayer, as Michael was saying. It's like having
I didn't even know about that, by the way.
Like having a sandbox game with multiplayer, not the most common thing, especially for, I believe it is split screen.
I think so.
Yeah.
It might be like the old Lego ones where there's the combined thing and then the pull away again, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, again, it's like paying a game, it's like a £13 game on Wii U, and then they're like just upscaling it, and then they're charging £50. Like £40 would be pushing it still. But £50 for a 5-year-old game now?
Is it the same price on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4?
I believe so, yes.
It isn't one of these games where it's £10 more on the Switch, which is ridiculous, than the Nintendo tax. It isn't one of those games, is it? But it's 40
I don't
quid.
think so. I think it's the same on all of them, but I'll wait and be corrected if I'm wrong on that, because you know, I'm with you in that I do think it's pricey, and I probably won't get this immediately. I'm not going to rush out tomorrow and get it, but by that same token, there are a lack of really good co-op games at the moment that you can play locally, and I think this is where there's an appeal for me, and I think that's the only thing they might, if they could really push on that. But the fact that you didn't know about that, Shaun, says they're probably not pushing it very well, you know?
Well, what's interesting, like you're saying, is there's a lack of stuff like that, especially on the Switch right now, so there's a very good chance it'll probably do much better on the Switch than it will do on the other two. It's probably not as important a release on those two other consoles or platforms as it is in the Switch, where we're still waiting for more software. A lot of people are who are complaining that there wasn't enough software on launch. So something like that, even though it is full price and it's annoying to me, there's probably a lot of gamers that are saying, you know what, I'll just get it because there's something to play now.
Same.
Well, let me give you a couple of the other releases that are coming out then. On the Xbox One, Anton, this is where you have to step up to the plate. Lego City. We've got Lego City Undercover. We've got Dead Rising 4, Frank Rising, Rocket League: The Fate of the Furious. Now, Rocket League, by the way, is still one of my go-to games whenever I want just a half an hour of not having to think too much on the PlayStation 4. So Rocket League: The Fate and the Furious is out on the Xbox One. We've also got Blackwood Crossing and Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition. So there's your Xbox One releases. Anton?
I don't know about yourselves, but Bulletstorm, I really want to see that franchise come back.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That's why I did that face when he said Bullets. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I tried to play it because I was like, was it Epic?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, Epic, yeah, I'll get it. So I got it, and then I was just like, this isn't Gears of War. And then I was like, nah. I just didn't like it
The
that
thing
much.
I really liked about it is they had like a bunch of abilities, and it was all about pulling off combos in a shooter, what was not obviously something we see. So it's like, chaining a kick, throwing a wire on them, and all that kind of stuff. And it had a really good sense of humor. It's kind of very, I know they're tying it in with Duke Nukem. It's kind of like that, but modernized. So it isn't a bit, like I think these days Duke Nukem humor is a bit outdated. But it's kind of like a modernized Duke Nukem to a degree.
Is it by Cliffy B? Is it the same like
It
director?
was Epic Games, but Cliffy B's not
Gearbox
there.
Software and
Or
Epic Games.
He's not there no more.
I've probably seen it, but I can't recall it in my head. My brain's blanking on what it looks like and stuff.
I don't know how to describe it. It kind of was a bit
Bullets and Storm.
Gears of War-ish in appearance.
Is it like
wasn't
Sharknado with bullets? Bulletstorm.
That's a surprisingly good comparison.
It was, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't get into
then.
the story. I didn't get into it as much. Like, and I just was like, I like Gears of War.
To be honest, I think the best thing to come out of Bulletstorm was the teaser game they did for it. They made a game called Duty Calls, and it's a free game, and it's just a parody. It's like a full game ripping apart Call of Duty. It parodies every single aspect of it, and it's fantastic. It's free, it's on PC and Mac. It's easy to run, so if you've got like a free 15 minutes, I highly recommend trying out Duty Calls. It's generally so funny.
We've got, interestingly, quite a few releases on the 3DS and the Wii U coming up, including on the Wii U Animal Gods and Sniper Ghost Warrior 3. I know nothing about these games, but they seem to be only on the Wii U and not on the Switch, so that's interesting. And the 3DS, a couple of games for you. Dragon Sinker, Pinball Breakout, Run Boy, no, that can't be right. Runbow Pocket, not Run Boy. And then one that I have heard of, Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, and then Farming Simulator 18. They're on the way too, a little bit later on. So that's your 3DS, Phil. There's definitely still a market though for the 3DS and Wii U, and it's interesting to see that that there's new titles coming out. I wonder how long that's going to last.
Do you think there is still a market for the Wii U side of things though?
No.
Yes.
I think there is a market
the 3DS.
For
No, I think there's a market for the 3DS. I'm not sure
3DS,
about the Wii U. I think there are still a lot of Wii U users who will be not wanting, out of principle, to make the change to the Switch. I was careful not to say make the Switch. And I think that there will be a bit of resistance from some Wii U owners still, because maybe some kind of loyalty to the Wii U because it was a kind of underdog in the first place. That's where I think there'll still be a market. The 3DS, it's still more portable than a Switch no matter which way you look at it, and it's also got that market that might just work for people who just want the handheld thing and they've got a PlayStation 4 or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Anything good coming out on Vita? That's a good question.
Right, so the Vita, we've got a few. Coming up this month, we've got A Rose in the Twilight, which I got to be honest, I don't know a lot about. The artwork looks really cool though.
That's good.
So that's a good start. It looks quite dark. It looks like a bit like, what's that game where it's in black and white and it's on
the one, the Sega one, the Mad something.
No, it's on PlayStation 4 and it's on. Oh, it's very arty. It's a download.
Hear the Lie?
Inside.
Drawn out?
Inside, yeah, it looks a bit like that kind of artwork. It looks interesting. We've got Period Cube Shackles of Amadeus.
Sounds cool.
That sounds really cool.
Anything with Amadeus in it sounds cool.
Yeah.
These titles sound amazing. The Caligula Effect.
That does sound
cool.
Cool title.
Caligula, yeah.
That's coming out on the 2nd of May, and it looks JRPG-ish, and it's published by Atlas. It looks really... the
Atlas.
artwork looks...
That's
Always
a good
trust an
name.
Atlas game.
Well, their artwork looks awesome. It looks really, really
Like,
interesting. So
you have to
check
start
it
seeing
out.
these games with like a really cool voice, like a really deep voice.
The
Like, what's it?
Caligula.
The Caligula. What's it?
Okay,
Caligula effect.
so
I think
let
so.
me try again then. Got a sore throat now. Coming out.
Oh, this is going to be good.
I can't do it. My throat's gone. The Caligula effect. All right. Let's move on. Stop putting me under pressure. You've got a deeper voice than the rest of us. Akiba's Beat.
Oh wait,
Is that a dancey kind
is
of thing?
that
Like a beat?
out on?
of
Is that
thing?
coming out on Vita? Yes,
Yes.
we're talking about Vita right now. We're
talking about the Vita.
Oh, but I'm sure it's coming out on PS4 as well. I think
It is. Yes, you're absolutely right. It
Yeah,
is.
I
So
think
that's
that
out
looks
in May.
good. That looks like another sort of Persona type game, actually.
Okay, cool, interesting.
It does look
and
good.
then one more for you on the Vita in May. Again, looks a little JRPG-esque. It's Summon Night 6 Lost Borders.
That sounds like it could be.
What's funny is,
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's so many games coming to it.
Because it's good!
thought it was dead 2 years ago.
Good! No,
Yeah.
they
Oh,
still put
It's
games
an
out
indie
for it.
powerhouse.
No,
like,
I-
if you're into indie games,
I got a
that's
good
great
game, a
device.
good new visual novel for it for my birthday in October. Root Letter. Good
Yeah, I wanted to check
mystery.
that out.
Yeah?
You mentioned that before. It looks really good. And that's the thing
Um,
about the Vita. If you're into that kind of style, it's a brilliant
Oh
console
my
for
god,
that.
Mike, you should play the Danganronpa games. Like, I'm being serious right now. They're amazing.
I did a bit of a Google for some info on them, and they look awesome.
They're
so
so good. And the third one's coming out in September, which I can't wait for. So you should definitely get in there.
I might wait and check that out. So that's it for releases coming up, and there's certainly still a lot happening on other consoles, which is interesting. Actually, funnily enough, the Switch has probably got the least in terms of stuff coming up right now. Although
Yeah.
there's quite a few of the downloaded stuff, and the retro stuff seems to be happening, the Neo Geo stuff, etc. But we'll all still be playing Zelda in a couple of weeks anyway, so we'll see what happens.
110 hours into it now, 110 hours.
Wow. How far through the story do you think you are?
Well, I've done 3 of the Divine Beasts, there's 4 of them in total. I've still got to beat Ganon, and I've still got some other armour sets to get. But I'm just enjoying just going around just building my character up and building up
It's so fun.
Yeah, the ancient arrows and stuff. So, honestly, I can play this probably for another 100 hours before even going to Ganon, just enjoying myself building my character up. It was awesome.
And you have the downloadable stuff as well when that comes too.
Did you guys see the April Fool's video for going into the Guardian?
I heard
the GameSpot
about
did?
it. I heard about it.
Did you see that, Michael?
Heard about it. I didn't see the video. No.
It was really well done. Check it out. Go into YouTube, I think it is, on GameSpot's channel, and they've got a video where they've done this elaborate tutorial how to sneak into a Guardian, and it's really crazy. But people were trying it and losing all the really good gear and stuff.
Oh, that's harsh.
I know. They're sitting there going, "I've wasted 4 hours on that damn."
Oh, man. Okay, that's it for releases this week then, and let's move on to the retro section.
Retro section.
I really don't want to do this.
Yeah, I think I'll work on something.
Yeah, sample it.
Yeah.
That's it. You've got it.
Yeah.
I've got the sample. It's great. It's perfect. All right, so this week I'm going with a PlayStation 2 game. I hear you gasp. Is that retro? Yes, I think it is. I think it is now. I think
That's comforting to me.
For me, I think retro is probably really what were the consoles that you played when you grew up. Whether you're 10 and you played something at the age of 5, or whether you're 35 and played something at the age of 10, and that, to me that's retro. It's what you grew up with. So PlayStation 2 is kind of borderline for me, because I was my retro console is probably a Mega Drive, maybe a Spectrum, but I was really young at that obviously, as you can tell. But for me, the PlayStation 1 is certainly retro. The PlayStation 2, I loved it, but I was a little bit older, so it's maybe not retro. But there's a game on there which I just absolutely loved, even though technically it probably wasn't that great. I loved the premise because there weren't many around like this at the time, and it was a game called Prisoner of War.
No,
Doesn't ring any
never.
bells.
No.
Okay, so the premise of this game is that you're in a prisoner of war camp, which is, a fairly dark premise for a game. But the idea is that you have to escape, but you don't use weapons. You're using kind of stealth, and you have to have conversations with the guards and do things like bribe them, and you have to kind of find alternative ways to kind of escape from the prison camp. And what I really liked about it was the fact that it was at the time, there weren't many games like that. It's third person. It was published by Codemasters and developed by Wide Games, who at the time were doing a few things. It came out on the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox. It was also on Windows 2. 2002 was the year that it came out. Single player as well, so you just played it. You know, it wasn't like a co-op thing or anything like that. But basically, the idea was using the items around the camp for doing things like opening doors. You could use keys and crowbars. You could also have currency, which was found in and around the camp. And that would act as money, which you could use. You had to avoid detection. You had your hiding place in your barracks. You were Captain Stone, and you're like basically that your role was to try and escape. You had a journal which kept you in touch with what you had and what you could use. And the whole point of the game, it's not a massively huge game, but the idea was to get out without being caught. And if you were caught, the guards on duty, if they spotted you, they wouldn't shoot on sight. They would call on you to cease your activity, which I loved. And then if you disobeyed, the guard would shoot you. But if you didn't, then you sometimes got away with it, and you'd have to go back and kind of go back a little bit in the game. It was a really clever premise. It wasn't brilliantly executed. It was very difficult to control. I can remember being massively frustrated and having several bouts of just absolute rage at the game. But as an idea, it was slightly ahead of its time. And I think if it had been done maybe on the PlayStation 3, I think they could have done it, you know, a little bit more justice. But you know what? As a game, it's well worth checking out. Just to even have a look on online and see some of the footage from it. So none of you guys have ever heard of the game?
No, but just out of curiosity, you're saying there, maybe if it came out in the PlayStation 3, it may have done a bit better. Would it? I don't know, because calling a game Prisoner of War, it instantly jumps in my head. It's like, I don't know if that would be too controversial back in the PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 time. Maybe people would be like, that's a bit offensive. You know, everyone's PC nowadays. They'd be like,
well, also,
it kind of depends where it's set, I think.
Okay,
mainly.
well, can I just, I'll make it worse for you. It was, you are a prisoner of war at Camp Kolditz, and it's the Nazis that are holding you prisoner.
Okay.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm surprised that even got made.
I don't know, because
Well,
you think about
you
things
know.
like Wolfenstein, that's like magic Nazis, isn't it? So
Yeah, but
they still
you're
make those.
Yeah, but you're like killing the Nazis, and that's seen as like every film's got that kind of stuff in games.
Yeah, but you're
actually the prisoner of war.
I guess, are you like negotiating with Nazis in this game because to like escape?
Well,
because I feel
you're
like that
kind of-
could probably be quite bad.
You're kind of bribing them. So basically, to give you an idea of the premise, okay, you're transferred to Stalag Luft, where he meets a friendly British officer and an unfriendly Polish officer who head. Because obviously the Polish guy would be unfriendly. He's not British.
God.
So they would head the escape committee. You escape through an abandoned tunnel, and then you're captured by the German patrol, and then you're sent to the infamous Kolditz Castle.
It sounds amazing.
It actually sounds like a really fun game to play, despite that. It does actually.
Surely in the boardroom when you were making that game, you would sit there and say, "I've got a game like an idea. We'll have this stealth-based game. You do this and that. You'd be, that's cool. Let's call it Prisoner of War."
No, but it isn't being a prisoner of war.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I think if I'm right, it might have been called something different in other countries.
In Germany.
I think they may. Germany. Yeah. Okay. So
Oh my God.
this is the bit, I know, controversial. This is the bit that I really liked about it, and this is the bit that I thought was cool. The fact that the game had no combat mechanics. You're unable to fight or kill anyone, and the only way to get through it is to use stealth and deception. That's what I really liked about it. It was that concept of trying something a little bit different from a third-person point of view. And on the PlayStation 2, that was fairly radical, and the Xbox One, that was fairly different. As I said, I don't think they quite got it right. I don't think it's that brilliant a game, but the concept's good.
Yeah.
And go and check it out on YouTube. Honestly,
I like the sound
it's
of
a cool
it
idea.
as a concept. It does actually sound really interesting, I guess, as long as it wasn't too scary, because I find that mechanic, not being able to fight people, is used in horror games because it is so scary and horrible, kind of like Soma.
I wonder if maybe it would have been a bigger game and more widely received, or a bigger name or something, if they called it something like, they can't call it obviously The Great Escape, because that would be incorporated in the film, but they could have called it The Escape That Was Great. You know?
The bus that we couldn't slow down. Yes.
That's my retro game this week. Prisoner of War, PlayStation 2.
We'll check that
Google
out.
it.
Yeah. Sounds
Check
good.
it out. Controversial or not.
Yeah, hopefully we don't. I know we were talking last week about like PewDiePie and Johnston and everything being too controversial, and then
That's no controversial.
well, here we are a week later.
Listen, we're making sure we're covering these games. These are part of history now.
Yeah.
So
the thing is to
I
remember,
know.
it's like the context in which this game came out. Every shooter was
Yeah,
against
there's
the
lots of
Nazis.
World War
Yeah.
IIs. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, Battlefield. They were all in that same time period.
I'm sure that it's not like I'm sure we would have heard more about it if it was actually genuinely a controversial content.
We just pick up the game. We're like, oh, this is the one Michael recommended. How to be a Nazi.
There was another game called The Great Escape for the PlayStation 2, by the way, but I don't know if that's. I'm looking at this and trying to. I'm now wondering if that was just the artwork for Prisoner of War, because they were too scared to say Prisoner of War. They called it The Great Escape. But no, I think this is a later on one. Yeah, it's actually built based around the movie. So there we go. So that came out the year after. So there you go. There's your Great Escape. So
maybe at some point down the line we'll have a game that's like a game like that, but it's called Escape from Brexit.
Oh,
You're
it doesn't
really
even
on
be
the
that long.
Brexit today, aren't you?
This will become a momentous occasion. We'll have games based in this and everything at some point.
And then we can have the
Surely
sequel in
it's
Czechoslovakia. Have it the checkouts. Call it a day.
The chicken call it a day.
I think this is probably as good a time as any to end this week's episode.
Yeah, before we get
Definitely,
too
before
far,
we
let's go.
incriminate ourselves any further.
Just remind people, please, where they can go and like and subscribe, and anything else we need to tell people, Sean.
Alright, so if you jump on the Facebook, that's where we update any of the live streams or anything like that. On the left hand side in the menu, if you're on a normal computer, there's links there for. There's links there.
Correct
Well, I'm saying that because it
term, a
doesn't work on the
normal
iPad.
computer.
It doesn't show up on the iPad or the iPhone or whatever. But if you're on a computer on the left hand side of the menu, there's a link there for Gamify 24/7, and you can get all the episodes in there. You can listen to them there. Obviously, you can go on iTunes as well and SoundCloud, and you can subscribe there, which would be awesome. And yeah, if you're backing us on Patreon, then you'll get access to some of the bonus content we're going to be doing. Me and Anton were having a meeting yesterday. It was yesterday, wasn't it?
Indeed, yes.
And we've got some cool ideas for Patreon backers that'll be tying in with Gamify and with SmallFry in general and stuff. So check that out if you want to get some cool stuff there, and for the competitions as well. But yeah, Gamify is on. We've got iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, Twitter,
It's on the
all that stuff.
SmallFryUnify.
Yeah, it's on the
Facebook.
SmallFryUnify. So tweet it, send us a message, hashtag Gamify 24/7, and then we can respond to you in the next episode or whatever.
Awesome. All right, then, and happy gaming this week, folks, because there's a few things happening. I'm going to be Zeldaing and trying to catch up with Sean. It's going to be futile, but I'll do my best. Have a brilliant week, and we'll be back for episode 12 this time next week.
Episode 12, eh? Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.